Where's the mouse? Find the mouse, kits. You brought the mouse in. Now you've lost it in the corner somewhere, haven't you? It's probably down there, in that hole. So today, another cat of mine died, sadly. Myscha. It was horrible. Um, just last night, we were all fine. I was walking in the foggy night with my two cats. Went indoors with them because they had a mouse. Played with them in the living room. They seemed to think the mouse was in the living room, but I couldn't see anything there at all. They were sniffing behind the curtains and stuff. I caught some video of it. That might have been the last video I've taken of her. And then I just went to bed as usual. Made sure they had food and litter tray. Alfie's our bigger one, ginger cat, a little bit older. They both would have reached like around 1 year old. So we got Myscha. She was a small silver grey, long hair crossed with Mainecoon. So really, she's a beautiful cat with so much personality, and everything was fine last night with her. And before that, she was like cuddling up to me on the bed, and then she cuddled up to Alfie. I always kind of think of them as kind of the husband and wife cat sort of thing. I wanted them to both get together and have kittens, but my mum got them both neutered, so that never happened. But they both used to, once they got over an initial short fighting with each other phase when we first got them, because they weren't used to each other, then they got along really well and kind of slept with each other and cuddled up together. So I went to bed last night, and this morning I was pissed off with Mum, so I didn't want to speak to her, but she's just texting me to say, "Is Myscha in your room?" And Myscha wasn't in my room. I had my door closed. You know, none of the cats get in my room at night. They only get in the room if I wedge my door open, if I hear them clawing or meowing at my door in the mornings, which didn't happen. So neither of the cats were in with me. And so she got texting me saying, "Where's Myscha? Is she in your room?" I sort of ignored it, and then I got up like half an hour later, went around the garden calling for Myscha, because I knew she wasn't in my room. Did a lap of the garden calling for her, didn't find her. Did another lap later around the garden, it was a sunny day, calling for her, didn't find her. And then just kind of spent the rest of the day kind of stressed out. Alfie came in and out of my room, hung out with me. Normally they both do, but it was just Alfie. And I was just worried. I thought, like, well, maybe she's just walked off a long, long way through the neighbours' gardens and she'll be back. Because I wanted them to be free to roam the gardens and stuff, because they really wanted to. They hated being cooped up in the room when they were kittens, so they've been enjoying walking around at night lately. And I called for her and she didn't come, and I kept going out and calling for her, but eventually I was like, oh, something must have happened to her, because eventually it was like 7 hours plus since I'd seen her, and I just thought, well, No, she wouldn't. You know, she likes following me around the garden. She likes coming up to see me. If she can't get up to my room to see me, then she'll come and see me when I'm walking around the garden for sure. She's a very affectionate cat. And she didn't come, so I thought, oh, maybe she got into a neighbour's garden and they're feeding her and they think of her as one of their own, so they're thinking, oh, a stray cat, I'll take that, but it wasn't that. And then I thought maybe, because they've been exploring the gardens to the north, maybe she got trapped in some device or some netting or something that I don't know is in the neighbour's gardens, you know, some shape of garden fence or something, got trapped in it, or maybe she fell from a high tree that wasn't in our garden and was wounded and couldn't drag herself to our garden. And then, yeah, I kind of went to sleep for a bit in the late afternoon because I was kind of worried and tired out, and I thought something's happened to her. Maybe cars driven by in the foggy night and stolen the cat, you know. Maybe there was a pet stealer, and in that case they've driven all the way out into the village and I never find them. And then I remembered there was an owl as well in the foggy night, and I thought the owl had come and hunted Myscha because she's slightly smaller than Alfie. Maybe the owl could possibly carry something that size, I'm not really sure. Maybe they can't, maybe they can. I don't know if they hunt small cats, if they're starving or whatever, but again, it wasn't that. I think the thing that I hated most was just not knowing. I was thinking, I'm definitely not the type of person who wants to constrain freedom and like insert a tracker microchip into my cats or something so I know on GPS where they are. I thought, oh, maybe I should have given her a collar, and maybe you can track the collar or something, but again, it's tracking and I don't like the idea of tracking at all. It doesn't sit well with me, whether it's a person or a pet or a child or whatever. So I just thought, I don't want to do that to my cats. I want them to have as much freedom as possible in this non-free world. And so, yeah, I just thought, oh, something bad has happened. It was 9 hours since she'd gone missing. 9 hours, more than 9 hours. I just thought, something's happened to her. I was like talking to Alfie as if he understands what I'm saying. Just going like, I think something's happened to Myscha, like, remember her face, because she might not come back. I think she might be gone. I don't know how she's gone or where she's gone. So I had my little evenings, my late afternoon sleep. And then when I woke up, I went downstairs for a bit, and Mum was walking around with a cardboard box. And she said she thinks she found some remains on the street. And she said what she found mostly was flattened and unrecognisable. And I was like, oh God. I guess if this is real and that's actually her, then she must have died in a car accident. I was like, well, where is it? Like, what? There's got to be a body. Where's the? She said down by the bus stop. I just marched straight out of the door, not knowing what she meant, and went to a bus stop, and there was no remains flattened on the road. I thought, this can't be right. I went to the second bus stop. There was a bit of a wet streak across the road, like a car would spill fuel, but there wasn't any remains anywhere. I went to a third bus stop right at the edge of our village, and there's just nothing over there, nothing at all. And Mum said the neighbour, Nick, had told her that there were these remains by the bus stop. I hadn't seen anything, so I marched out. I was out there in flip-flops looking at all these bus stops, and then I walked all the way back to our house and went to Mum like, where are the remains? I have to have a body. I have to, it was killing me not knowing all the different eventualities that could have happened to Myscha. So at least if it's been a car accident and that's what killed her, then I have to have a body. I have to see a body. I have to see a part of her. I have to have a part of her to verify this has happened. And she walked out the door towards the bus stop, and I said, I want to see it alone. Just point me in the right direction. She wouldn't point me in the right direction. She wanted to go with me to see the remains. I was like, I don't want to do it. I want to see it alone. Just point me. Eventually, she walked to the bus stop herself and pointed out to me while I stayed on the road. And we exchanged places. I crossed over and went to look. I couldn't even see the flattened remains she was on about when I got to where she was pointing. There was nothing really on the road. And I thought, this isn't what I need. This isn't enough. I looked around because the bus stop is like a stone hut thing, that close bus stop, and so I couldn't see anything on the road. And I thought I'll look around the back of the bus stop because there's like a woods behind the bus stop. I thought maybe if there's been a car accident here, like the body wouldn't just disappear and it wouldn't just go in the tire and carry on if they hit someone. Maybe they put the body somewhere. Because she said she couldn't find much and she'd taken a small part that she thought was Myscha to bury in the garden. And I went around the back of the bus stop into the woods bit, and there's like a trench stream thing. And it's just like ripped up blood and guts, some kind of blackish fur in this trench muddy stream thing with a bunch of branches near. The driver had obviously just walked in from the road a bit into the woods and dumped the body in this trench unceremoniously. And there's just this. There were some branches there, and I used a branch to reach down to the trench because it's quite low to move the thing, the giblets, and try and work out what it was, because it didn't really look like Myscha. I moved it with a stick and I saw it had kind of weight to it, and the fur was all blackened because it was wet from the little stream that was underneath. It was hard to make out any kind of light fur because Myscha had a lot of kind of light grey fur as well as like silvery fur. It was all blackened and it didn't look like her, but it was like blood and bones as a stripper, but I couldn't make out any like cat shit. It was in the right size and mass of a cat, and sort of felt the same weight as a cat when I turned it over, but it was just like there was like a bone and some blood off to one side, and then the rest of it was just a big hump of blackish grey fur that was, I guess it was her fur, but it was very wet. I guess it had been there for 10 hours at that point, something. And I just thought, well, that must be it, that must be her. I've never had to do something like that. I haven't ever seen a dead person before in real life, and I haven't, I've seen dead animals before, but not like my pets or anything. Barely even got a glimpse of Remy when the vets put her down to bury her. And she got put in a box. And I thought, if this is most of her, because this thing had mass and Mum just found a tiny thing. This thing had mass, then if this is most of her, then I want to bury this, even if I can't make out the full form. Like, you couldn't make out a paw or a head or an ear or anything. You couldn't tell what part of it. You can tell a part of it that you recognise, really, but the shape and weight was mostly of a small cat. There might be even more of it, I don't know, there might be more of it. So yeah, I went back to the house and I thought, I'm getting this, I'm going to get a bin bag thing Mum suggested she wanted to put it in a box. I said I'm going to get in a bag, just fold the bag inside out, because I've never picked up just a mess of body parts like this, like a war zone thing. So I got a bin bag inside out and I went down to the stream, and Mum pursued me with a cardboard box. And I didn't want Mum near me while I was doing it. It seemed like an intensely personal, intimate thing as soon as I felt the weight of it in my hands. And it didn't feel heavy enough, like it wasn't all of her. There still must have been some of her mass missing. Maybe it's further up the trench, or maybe some of it did get in the wheels, or maybe the driver found another place in the woods to put more of the body that I haven't looked at. I just reached down into the stream, tried to get as low as I could, and pull most of this thing out in my hands that used to be Myscha, and was just bouncing around and running around me happily last night. As you can tell, it's just dead apathy at the moment. It still hasn't sunken in yet. I'll probably be like with Remy. It didn't sink in the first time I told you about it in that video, but the next few days I was like crying and stuff. I was sad. And all this, just a bolt-on depression to all the other depressing things that have been happening in my life lately. So yeah, I got her remains into the bin bag and put it into Mum's box thing, and we walked back to the house. And in the little courtyard thing we've got, I just thought, like, some sort of memento. I got some little scissors and tried to cut off a bit of fur from the corpse thing. And I call it a thing because it doesn't seem like it's her, you know. Like, just disassociate a body of a dead creature from that actual same creature when it was alive. It's like two entirely different things. I took some fur from that. It just looks so dark, you know. And I think it was stuck together a bit, like it was some fur from, I don't know, maybe it's just what happens to fur when it gets left for like 10 hours like that. And I just washed it intensely in the sink, and I put it in like a jar. And I can show you, but I also got other fur, which is from cutting her fur because she gets mats. The one on the bottom. Look away now if you're offended or whatever. The one on the bottom is the one I found that I took off the body. And the bit at the top, see it's all lighter, that's what her fur actually looks like normally. That's from a paper waste basket, because the long-hair cats get mats in their fur. So I trim the mats with a little razor, try and get them off them so they have just fur that doesn't stick together. So from a waste paper basket, this is just some of the mats and some of her pale fur, her light coloured fur, on top of this dark bit that I found. It's just my keepsake of... Mum buried the mass of remains that I got. She got it in the box and she buried it under some flowers in the garden. But I was busy cleaning this up and stuff. Yeah, I think this is... because when we buried Remy, we buried her whole... because she was put down at the vet's, her whole body was intact when it got into the ground. But with this, it's kind of hard to visit the grave, and I've only visited it once because it happened, it didn't happen tonight, I guess it happened early hours of this morning, and now I've only just found out about it this last hour. So it hasn't sunk in, it hasn't hit me square in the face yet. It will. But how can you go to a grave where the cat is not intact in the grave, or even the person is not intact in the grave? Can you imagine a person's been ripped to shreds by a landmine or something? It's like visiting a grave where that's happened. You know that the person you loved is not in one piece down there. There are lots of just messy chunks all over the place that doesn't really resemble what they were. I always used to visit, I still do visit Remy's grave and put flowers on it. It just seems so much stranger now that I have to go and visit Myscha's grave and put flowers on it, knowing that that's not even a whole cat down there. And that she was just bouncing around alive just last night. Okay guys, I'll probably make a clips video so you can see what Myscha was like when she was alive, like I did with Remy. I'll get all my Myscha videos and I'll string them together and make a video. That's what's going on in my life. How are you?